I'm in it for joy. My purpose, right? Ignite the potential of every soul, crush self-sabotage, and activate joy. And what I've learned a lot of times the hard way is it's an inside out job. So when you talk about these people who win the Super Bowl, or they're putting their belief, their joy in some future event, and it doesn't exist there. It's not in the hot girl. It's not in the beautiful house. It's not in the watch. It's not in any of those things. I'm looking out a window and it's spring and there's these beautiful flowers just coming into bloom right now. They're going to come into bloom whether I see them or not. They're going to come into bloom because they can't not. I think it was Denzel Washington at a culmination speech. He said, put God first. And for me, that peace and strength and flow, that's where my joy comes from. Regardless of what your faith or lack of faith is, you have to be in alignment. What you love and what you do and who you are have to all line up.
Welcome to the REimagined podcast.
All right, guys, welcome to the REimagined podcast. Today I have a special guest, very close friend of mine, a seasoned corporate facilitator and a transformative thought leader with over 30 years of experience mastering emotional intelligence and peak performance training. He is a true expert, MBA from Pepperdine, and doesn't stop there with former knife fighting instructor skills. He is the truth of the blade. With 11 black belt degrees, he has his license as a pilot and a survival specialist. His teachings are grounded in real world experiences. In the words of NHL Hall of Famer Wayne Gretzky, he is one of the most knowledgeable trainers I have ever worked with. He is past experience in special operations, team members with world-class athletes, to heads of multi-billion-dollar companies. He partners with leaders and teams who seek proactive empowerment and healthy, high moral culture where they rather thrive than merely survive. We are going to explore what makes him a sought-after mentor and advisor for those striving for excellence in all aspects of their life. I welcome my good friend, William Poett.
So super humbled by that introduction, and the first all I can say is whatever I've achieved in my life, it's been a blessing, and it's come from God, and I've done my best to serve. And it's one of the reasons why it's a long resume is I'm going to be 65 in 4 days. So
Yeah.
I've had a few
Happy early birthday.
a few years and a few miles to do a few things right. So it's really, Nico, you're one of my favorite humans. I'm so glad to be here. I'm really looking forward to our chat.
Yeah, I can't wait. So there's a lot to unpack. We want to make this valuable time for everyone. My coaching, friendship, mentorship with you started basically in 2018, 2019, and it totally transformed my life. And we are here today to make sure my audience can get a little bit of input from you and what you've worked effortlessly over your you're only in halftime right now in my
100%,
opinion.
buddy. 100%.
It's halftime, right?
Halftime. God willing.
Yep. So, let's dive in. I don't know where you want to start with a little bit of, when you and I connected, you just launched 9Q. Do you want to start there? Or do you want to start earlier in your life and some stories there of what got you in this space, right? Why did you choose to work with people, businesses like myself? And I'm not going to compare myself, with Wayne Gretzky, who you also coach, but
yeah,
we're striving to get there. But what got you in this space? Let's start there.
So, kind of like an origin story. When I was a kid, my family has been stewards of this ranch in California. We're the oldest family-held cattle ranch in the state. It was deeded to my great grandfather in 1816, and we've always been raised to believe we don't own the land. We're just stewards of it, and our job is to leave it in a better stead for our kids than we got it. but there was something in the legacy and the history that there was some nobility. My great 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 grandfather was a Spanish nobleman, and that's how he was able to get the ranch. And there was a belief. I don't know if it came from church or where it came from, that I was a child of God, and that, like, that idea just, it just really got anchored in at a really young age. And I thought, as a child of God, I should probably be doing some pretty good stuff in my life. And for, pre-20, any teacher you ever talked to, anyone ever met me, my report card would have been not living up to his potential. Like, that was literally, and it drove my parents nuts. They both served. They met in World War II over in Italy, and amazing people and really hard workers. And I was this kid, and I had, tested, gifted, and had all this stuff going for me. And I just wasn't fulfilling my potential. And I think part of it for me was, well, I know exactly what happened. In fourth grade, I was in school, and I asked a teacher, we were being sent home, and we had to memorize the state capitals. I'm sure they don't do that anymore, but this is something we had to do back in the day. And little me, Friday afternoon, made the mistake. I'm sure my teacher was tired and annoyed. And I raised my hand, and I said, well, why do we have to do this? Right. And God bless her. She said, because I said so. And I remember it's like this giant adult basically flipped me off and said, I don't care about your weekend. I don't care about you. And I remember going from this really passionate student to, like, this is just BS. It's just a game. And so I had these conflicting things where nothing I was learning in school resonated with me, but I had this belief that I was a child of God, right? And I was meant to do something big. So after college, I started training the martial arts. I'd grown up, like, in the 70s, watching the old kung fu, and there was this way to mastery. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the discipline and the
Do you
pure
think,
form.
to pause you real quick, do you think
Yeah.
it because martial arts to you had meaning? What I saw in your quick story, when that teacher told you that, you almost lost, like, that wasn't enough for you. It had no meaning, right?
Yeah,
So
100%. And everything that I learned subsequently, it just, it was just, and we'll talk more about this, but every child comes into the world full of potential and possibility and magic and wonder, like every child. Okay. And then we put them in these institutions, and I spent 7 years on a school board, like, trying to fight for education, right? And the truth is, and this might bother some people, our education system is dead. It's dead. Universities are dead. High schools are dead. I have a junior in high school right now, and she's like, Dad, no one cares. And honestly, what she's learning in school is the equivalent of me learning how to, like, make a Chumash smash bowl. There's nothing. They don't even let them use AI. Like the
yeah,
kids get penalized. So I just, in the martial arts, there was a spark, right? Like, they talked about human mastery. And I started the Chuck Norris organization. And this is back in the late 70s, early 80s. And this is, when Chuck became the guy that was on everyone. This is before Superman wore him on his pajamas, right? I mean, this is when
yeah,
Chuck was just moving out there. And I got really excited by the idea of mastery. And so that was 35, 40 years ago. And the idea of human mastery, honoring God's gifts. I mean, I think that's the thing, Nico. Every one of us we're blessed. The moment we're born, we're blessed with all this stuff, right? And then you meet these people. Nick Vivicek, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a motivational speaker. He's a cousin of one of my clients. He was born with no arms or legs.
yeah,
The guy was born with no arms or legs, right? And yet we bitch and we complain and we moan about how hard our life is. And this guy, who was given minimal building blocks, goes out and makes magic happen. And
yeah,
and I was someone who was given all of the blocks, and I hadn't done anything. And so that was really I think it was sort of launched me on this journey that I'm still living today.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So to kind of jump into that a little bit, what for those people, because like for myself, I'm just going to relate it to myself, right? Um, when pre-COVID hit and I found myself in a rut and I used my network to get in touch with you, um, do you feel like people have to hit rock bottom like I maybe felt like I did in order to want to dive more into meaning and getting into mastery? Um,
You
what does
know,
that look
Nico,
like?
I hate this. I hate it. There are very few things I hate. I don't like to even use the word hate,
Mm,
but there is some level of truth to what you're saying. Because we take our kids and we put them in this system, and you got to go back and understand the history, right? We were an agrarian culture. All these factories got built. So mom and dad left the ranch and they needed babysitters and factory workers. So our
mhm,
education system was not designed to bring out your inherent genius or mind. It was designed to have you sit down, shut up, and be able to help Jeff Bezos make $7.9 million an hour, right? He's making $7.9 million an hour because there's an entire population of these little soul crushed factory workers.
right.
And so what happens is we take these brilliant little minds and we beat them down, should, don't stop, no, right? To where they you talk to 15, 20, 30-year olds, they're just numb. I'm going to get a car, I'm going to get a girlfriend, I'm going to get a mortgage, I'm going to get my beer on the weekend or whatever, and I'm going to get my 2 weeks vacation. Hump day is the stupidest. Like if you are living in a life where you celebrate the fact that half of the week is over, you're in hell. Like
Mhm,
you're like and so what breaks my heart, and I'm working really hard to solve this, is the vast majority of people need to be shattered. They're
mm,
just they're walking along, they're going through life. I call it the slow slog to regret. They're just on, they're just going, it's not so bad, it's not so bad. And we're all drugged up and we're on social media and doing whatever we're doing. And then what happens is, you lose a best friend, or you have a heart attack, or you go through a divorce, or you get fired. And it's like, I want to take every person on the planet and I want to drop them in a cold plunge pool. I'm sure you've done that, right? Like,
I
like,
got
like,
one.
like, like,
Oh, yeah.
like. Or I want to give their soul CPR. Like we've got to like. I want to. It's like, God,
Wake
there's
up.
so much potential in you. There's
Yeah.
this gift in you. There's a genius, and and yeah, Nico, it breaks my heart. And the fact is, if you study hospice, and with thousands of people dying, right? Get interviewed. The number one regret, I didn't have the courage to live my truth.
Hmm.
I didn't have so I lived for dad, mom, schools. I don't know who the hell I lived for, but to me, like, imagine, Nico, I don't care if you're 50, 60, 90, you have that last cogent thought, and the last thought you have is, Shh, I did it wrong. I did it
Yeah.
wrong. And then you black out.
Yeah.
So, you know,
No, I
I,
love that. I love that. That's a great answer to the question, and I'm gonna kind of reiterate what you already said, and then dive deeper into it. Is I believe I was self-aware enough to feel like I was at a bottom, but if you look from the external perspective, my company was successful, my marriage was good, my kids were healthy. Um, but something pushed within me to say, I have more in me, and how can I get help to fully unpack what I have within me? And it's to that point and word that you said is finding that courage and then being open to exploring that, and that's courageous, right? So like I thought I had all the systems down. I was working the endless hours. I had the multiple companies. And then you bring someone who's well more educated, well more holistically viewing in the sense of looking from an outside perspective rather than an internal, and me being open to it, saying, yeah, you have all these different LLCs and corporations, but what is serving you, right?
You had a lot of
So
companies.
it,
Had a lot of companies.
yeah, and that's
companies.
only one perspective. I mean, that's strictly the business, but even on the personal side, like, look, everyone can relate to this, right? And I'll let you touch on it. This was something from our training that I changed right away, was my habits, right? And it's to the point of your hump day, and whatever days that people have now, every day is the same to me, as I had to break a habit and put healthy ones in. But you guys have a morning routine. You roll out of bed. Either you set your alarm or you don't. Most people set their alarms. I don't. I just have an internal clock that wakes up, unfortunately, at 3:30 in the morning. But you roll over. If you're business minded, you check your emails. You're very reactive. If you're, into the social media, you check that right away. You're looking for that instant gratification of how many likes did my post get last night? Who commented? Is there some gratification to it, or did I get let down? You stroll, you probably do the same hobbies or activities every morning with brushing your teeth, probably put the same shoe on every day that you don't even realize. You're not training your brain. You're not using your brain by not being intentional, right? So I don't even, what I had to work through, which was super tough for me in the real estate industry, I don't touch my phone in the morning until I am prepared for that day, right? And so walk the audience through a little bit of that training. I don't want to give away too many of your secrets, because I hope they, research you and qualify to be a have you as a coach. But why is that so important? I know why, because I've lived it. I went through it. But explain to your audience why that is so important to you and 9Q, and the setup of your intentions for the day.
So the simple answer is, and this goes back to being a close quarter combat instructor, action always beats reaction, period. So especially a tier one, a small team, 10, 12 guys can go in and overwhelm 100 easily. And they use surprise, they use violence of action, they force the other army into reaction. And so on a simple level, just recognizing that when you look at your email or you pick up your phone, you're reacting to whatever's in front of you. On a more sophisticated level, when we look at energy and vibration, there are high vibrational people. And a high vibrational person is anyone that is, I would say, completely in alignment with God, their purpose. And so they're living, breathing, eating, sleeping what they were born to do. This total amazing alignment, right? And when you're doing that, there's nothing that's going to get in your way. There's nothing that's going to distract you. You're a force. Michael Phelps, and last year, we'll talk more about this. I used AI. We studied tens of thousands of high achievers: Tom Brady, Taylor Swift, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Elvis Presley, like anyone that you would know. And we used AI, and this was never possible until right now, right? Because of the scope of the data they have access to. What makes these people different? What are the mind drivers that they have that the rest of us don't? And it's not talent, education, looks, sexual preference. It's none of that stuff. There's two things, and we'll go into a little bit deeper. One of them is mindset, and the other is purpose.
Hmm.
Your purpose is an energy capture system, right? So think about that. I was talking to a friend of ours who lives in Fresno. She has a solar panel on her house. I'm like, how much do you pay a month in utility? She's like, nothing. Her neighbor pays $700 a month. Well, that sucks. What's the difference? She has an energy capture system. So Michael Phelps swimming was his energy capture system. If he wasn't born to swim, he wouldn't have 9 gold medals. He wouldn't become, and so here's again sort of the heartbreaking part, and it goes back to what you said about that heartache. Guy named Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called Outliers, best-selling book. I hate it with a passion. And he's a great author. I hate the book because basically he studied a bunch of high achievers, and he said, well, the reason why Bill Gates became a billionaire is he just happened to be at Stanford when they happened to have a computer program, and all of these dominoes were lined up so Bill Gates could become a genius. And for the vast majority of these high achievers, it's like a lightning strike. And somehow, luck or fluke, they get connected to their purpose. Tom Brady was born to throw footballs. Taylor Swift was born to sing. Wolfgang Puck was born to cook. The rest of us didn't get that lightning strike. And so without that energy capture system, without being totally clear, and what is so cool, and what we're doing now with our clients, and this happened way after you and I were working, is we're using AI to not only do a mind map and identify where you have missing levers, right? But to help you cultivate why you were born. Every human being, Einstein said, and Einstein's 10 times smarter than anyone I'll ever meet. He said, there's a genius in everyone. Now, there's people who are going to listen to this who don't think they're geniuses. You're wrong. There's a genius in you. There's a genius coded in your DNA. The fact that God and the universe worked so hard to bring you here and to keep you alive, there's a genius. And Nico, when you said you had that pain, like you knew there was more, that was your soul. That was your genius reaching out, right? Trying to find that. And so the average person, if I'm not connected to that energy system, everything has a lot of weight. William, that sounds great. I'd love to discover my purpose. I'd love to elevate my mindset. But I got to take my kid to school, and my toilet's not working, and my bills, and so they start telling you this story about everything that's happening. And there is an incredible weight there's a weight to your phone. There's a weight to your messages. There's a weight. And what I mean by that is it's pulling you down. And here's the other massive frustration I have. My purpose is to help every person on this planet unleash their potential to crush self-sabotage. We're gonna elevate your mind so you stop getting in the way of you, and we're gonna maximize joy. This is why I'm on the planet, right? But see, nobody cares about their potential, because now listen to this. This is kind of a high-level concept. Your potential exists in nothing. It's in the void. It's out there with God. It's like gold buried in your yard. You can't see it. You don't know about it. It's so, and how can I care about something I can't see or understand when I got bills to pay and my kid is sick, and so that's the heartbreaking thing, Nico. All the genius and all the potential. When I look at Taylor Swift, I look at Tom Brady, I look at Jeff Bezos, I look at Elon Musk, and I look at Nico, and I look at William, we're all the same. They aren't any better. They aren't any smarter. They have elevated beliefs, and they have a crystal clear purpose. And everyone on this earth should be living a life of massive joy and massive impact. And now, it doesn't mean you have to run $1 trillion company. But you might be born to teach, or born to cook, or born to write, or born to dance. Or Tony Hawk was born to ride skateboards. Do you know how much he's worth?
Probably close to $1 billion.
Yeah, only I think 40 million.
Okay.
But hey, I tell you what, how many MBA? The vast majority is of MBAs from Harvard. The vast majority are not worth $40 million.
No.
Nowhere near. He's a skateboarder. And I'm sure when he told his dad, hey, Dad, I want to be a skateboarder, his dad probably wanted him to go to business school. And if he had gone to business school, he'd be a miserable person on a slow slog to death. So, that long story, when you wake up in the morning and you are reacting to what's around you, it's of the lowest, it's dead. It's the lowest vibration. There's no power. There's no possibility. So what you and I did in our training is you learn I'm going to get Nico solid. I'm going to connect to what matters most to me. Something I learned from Wayne Gretzky. He said, I became the great one because I won the game before I stepped on the ice.
Hmm.
So all the other skaters, they get up and they go to practice, and they go out there, and he would do all of his mind mapping. He would connect to, and Wayne Gretzky was born to skate to the puck, to where the puck was going.
Yeah.
Right? That's his ninja skill. But even he, before he stepped on the ice, it's the setup, right? What do I need to do? How do I win the game before it starts? And so all the other players who no one will ever remember were out there on the ice reacting to the game.
Yeah.
Gretzky he'd already won the game.
Yeah.
He was playing on a whole different level. So that, that's what I'm up to, right? Getting people out of the illusion of everything and get them to step into where the magic and the joy and the power lives.
Yeah, I love that. Man, so much to unpack there. I want to go back on a couple things, but I want to talk about something first. Things I want to go back on is purpose, because I feel like my audience can really use more of an in-depth conversation on purpose, because it's clear for some and not clear for others, right? But before that, I want to talk about the significance of the Wayne Gretzky quote, because it's something within my enterprise that has changed us significantly. That visualization of winning the game before you stepped on the ice. How do I relate that to our business practices? Because most of my audience is real estate, and hopefully it expands. But I came from, as I define, old Nico, because that's what we reference a lot. Used to think, in order to achieve my purpose and the journey to my success, which was chasing wealth, was I'll be the first one in and last one out. I used to have that frame, old Nico did, where I'm not the smartest guy, so I need to outwork the competition. So if the average guy was working from 8 to 5, I was working from 5 to 7, right? And I got in X more hours in the day. And that's how it was taught. And I'm not saying it didn't bring me successes, in which I had at that time, but I got super clear with my intentions of the day. And pretty much everything I do, if you take it to the next level, before this podcast, you asked me, as Coach William does, what are my intentions? And not only finding out what my intentions for everything I do within my given day, there's a code that we use. Are you in the green zone? Are you in the red zone? Because if you're operating from the red zone and my mind's not with you today, we probably would have rescheduled. But I am full green today, and this is going to be a amazing podcast that it already is. So with that being said, how I applied that to my life and for my audience, because these younger generation that I once was, you need to believe in yourself, that you do have that true intelligence, like you're saying, and that you're trying to live this mission of life for everyone to experience that. But even if you don't believe that yet, the whole thought process of, and I think it's a cliche saying that I used to tell myself and my audience of, I will put a lot of money on anyone who can outwork me. Oh, great, go do so. But how much are you getting done? What are your intentions? So I can get more done now in a 6-hour day than the 15-hour days that I was spending, because I was doing it to fuel my ego. Someone asks you, well, what time you get in the office? 4 a.m. What time do you leave? 8 p.m. Oh, cool, dude. You were in there for a crazy amount of hours. You must be a hard worker. Are you successful? No, I'm actually drained. What's that?
Grinder.
Yeah, grinder, right? Well, what happens, you told me, what's your saying about what happens with people that grind?
And yeah, I grew up in a generation where my folks used to say, keep your nose to the grindstone. What the F is that, man? I mean, you do that, you're not going to have a nose. This whole grinder mentality. And, I love David Goggins. I think he's, inspiring a lot of people. Yeah. I'm 63. My body's full of iron. I can't wait to see that guy when he's 60. You can't grind and without breaking the machine. And the facts, McKinsey, global consulting company, did a 10-year study. Executives in flow are 5 times more effective. And you just said it. when you do what you need to do to set yourself up and to get in the green zone and to be at your best, you're going to be exponentially more impactful. So in 6 hours, you're going to do way more than the grinder is going to do, who's tired and stressed out and living in reaction. See, when you're grinding, your nose is down here and you can't, you got to get up high. You got to elevate so you have some perspective so you can see where's the market trending, what's happening, where the, all the low, I mean, this to your real estate audience. It takes just about as many hours to sell a $500,000 home as it takes to sell a $5 million home in terms of what you got to do, but the paycheck on the back end, totally different.
Right.
And so this, and I love, and I want everyone to hear what Nico said. He said, old Nico and new Nico. What we did a lot in our training, and I'm doing it much more scientifically now using AI, and we'll talk about it, is Nico had a mindset upgrade. So when he was referring to old Nico, those are his old belief systems. And through training and through work, there's this thing called neuroplasticity. Thank God we can rewire our brains. There are 36 core drivers of the ultra successful that make up the mindset. Everyone, they're living, well, okay, in every human being, they're either active, dormant, or dysfunctional. So, and using real estate as an example, we were chatting a little bit before. I've got a company in Santa Barbara I'm working with. Real estate's a great example of mindset. You know this better than anyone, right? 20 agents, same office, same market, same tools, same, yellow jacket back in the day. One agent's taking home $1 million. The average is making 100 to 75, and the rest are leaving the business. It's not because the person's smarter, better looking, more college degrees. It's mindset. It's which one of these drivers are switched on, which one of them are dormant, or which one of them are getting in the way of them. And so if you're watching this because you want to really raise your game, then it's not about working harder. It's not about taking more courses, right? When I was in college, I tested Genius IQ. I was on academic probation. I'm sitting in a classroom, right? And because of a dysfunctional mindset, I wasn't accessing the energy that was available to me. So, Nico, it's so much fun to be with you a couple of years later and to witness your elevated mindset.
Yeah, no,
Cool.
it started with me and how you're truly touching the world. You transform me, I transform my team, and my team transforms others. It spreads, right? So what we're doing here has purpose, right? But I'm gonna conclude the intentional mind frame with how I've restructured my organization. Most people, and old Nico in the past used to start off every Monday, like everyone does, checking their calendars. When they get in, they go over the duties that they have, what appointments I have, jump right into business, right? Because it's Monday, I got to catch up from the weekend emails. I need to start my week out strong, and they dive right into business. Here within our organization, we have an enterprise meeting every Monday, and it's to talk about self. It's to self-develop individuals, self-develop leaders, self-develop agents, investors, and we make individuals better people, because if you're not a better person, you're not going to be a better real estate agent, if that's who our audience is in our office that given day, or a better investor, or a better farmer, you name it. So my goal each week to start off my week isn't to check in and to talk straight business. It's saying, are we becoming who we intentionally and authentically are put on this planet to be? So it's been awesome. And my change of the mindset, which was at that time, a 28-year-old habit, that took me years to break alongside with you. I'm now helping people see those habits or create better ones that possibly we had, given our old beliefs or old systems that we were trained on. and making people better people. But let's dive in a little bit to purpose real quick before we get into the whole AI, because I know that's a big thing we want to talk about here today. Purpose. I have a lot of people that come in my organization, a lot of people I talk to, a lot of people part of my YPO organization even, that, you can be a multi-million-dollar company and still not feel like you have a purpose, right? They have a great production or a great company or organization. Um, but what is your take on purpose? So like you brought up Tony Hawk, right? He was born to do what he was put on this planet to do, which is skateboard, right? He had his purpose. It was pretty, well put in front of him. You talk about that example through Outliers of, this purpose, supposedly how he broke it down was put in front of him. And sometimes, it is put in front of people. They were just naturally put on this planet to do what their purpose was. But a lot of my audience, at least my intentions for my audience, is those people who don't know what their purpose is. Or maybe they think they have a purpose that I once thought I had, or you're trying to make up one that makes it feel like you have a purpose to make something more meaningful. How can they, what are some tips or suggestions you can give people to really either, dive deep into their true purpose, right? And how it started with me was the first exercise you made me do was, what are your mission, vision, and values? Right. And I started.
We did something before that, but yes, that we did something that triggered that, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the first thing I remember, because the reason maybe why it's so memorable was I started and I spent a lot of time putting those together for you to not let you down. And that's just how I operate, right? I want to make sure I do it the best, and I deliver something really good, and he's going to be super impressed by me. And I run a great organization that, has and lives by these, mission, vision, and values. And I started and I thought, I was like, he's not even going to touch these. These are so good. And I barely touched the surface. The amount of depth we got in on those is why I'm relating this to purpose. You may think that you have a purpose, but you're not digging deep enough.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? And what are some suggestions for the audience?
So this is going to be really fun. And I'm going to say I want to be a little self-serving, but I hope I'm serving you and everybody.
Yeah.
My birthday is in 4 days. I've spent 35 years trying to figure this out. I am now launching what I'm calling my opus. This is the most powerful program I've ever seen. I'll put it up against Tony Robbins. I'll put it up against MIT. I'll put it up against Brene Brown or Columbia, right? It's called Core Ignition. And I can explain it really simply. And it has everything to do with what we just talked about. In order for you and I to serve God, serve our purpose, serve the world at the highest possible level, I've got to ignite my core. Now, as an athlete, you and I both know that when we work out, you engage your core, you get access to 90% more motor units, right? Your body's in structural integrity, you get 90% more. So you got people at the gym who aren't engaging their core and they're putting in the effort, they're not getting the results. Every human has a core, and your core is made up of three things: your character, your calling, and your competence. So if you guys are taking notes, those are the big three: character, calling, competence. Your character is what your mindset creates. It's your beliefs, it's your values, it's your behaviors. And so you need to be cultivating your character, learning, studying, identifying this mind map. What are the drivers? What are serving you? What are dormant? What are dysfunctional? Your calling is your purpose. Why? So when people get all weird about the word purpose, purpose is why something exists, period. I have a toaster. My toaster's purpose is to heat up my toast. I have a refrigerator. My refrigerator's purpose is to keep some cold food cold and some frozen, right? Tony Hawk has a purpose, skateboard. William Poett has a purpose, potential. If you can't articulate it, if you can't bring your purpose down into a diamond, then you got to cultivate. You got to work on it. It took me decades to be able to cultivate that diamond. But I'll give you a hint. The first exercise Nico and I ever did, it was a love-hate exercise. And I had Nico take out a piece of paper and just write down everything, like spend 2 minutes, everything you love. Big things, little things. I love learning. I love adventures. I love nature. I love ice cream. I love a nice glass of wine. I love connecting with people. What do you love? Like everything, no judgment. Then another piece of paper, everything you hate. And if you do this privately and honestly, no two people on earth will have the same list. And this is the secret sauce of purpose. No two people on earth are going to have the exact same purpose. If you look at Michelin star restaurants, every one of those chefs was born to cook, but the expression of how they cook is totally unique. And so our purpose is this, and again, I call it an energy capture system, because when you, and it's a chicken and egg. If you have a lot of mindset bugs, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm just, whatever the BS stories you have, you're never going to find your purpose. But because of neuroplasticity, we can elevate that. Think of mindset as an operating system. Everybody loves it when we get a new phone or a new OS. You can upgrade. You've got to upgrade your system, right? When your mindset reaches a certain level of functionality, you can discover your purpose. And its DNA lives in, what do you love? The Japanese, they have I think it's 200 or 300 years old, a system for purpose discovery called Ikigai. And so I didn't invent this. This goes way back. Now, what we're doing is we're using AI to take a 3-year period and do it in 3 weeks. So we can condense the time. But, what do you love? That's what they start with. What are you good at that you can get paid for? What does the world need? And they go through a process that sort of lasers in. And here's what I want you guys to take the takeaway. When we inhale, we cultivate. And what I mean by that is there's a genius in you. There's a gift in you. Every single person, there's a gift. There's something you do different, better, more elevated when it's actualized in anyone on the planet. So I cultivate that gift. Nico knows real estate, knows the market, knows people better than anyone. That's what and it didn't happen accidentally, right? You've worked your ass off to cultivate this gift. And so Nico, then the exhale is sharing. You take your gift into the world. So that's you serve God, you serve the marketplace. It's it's this beautiful flow of energy. And the third C I talked about was competence. This is your potential. This is where you activate, right? Like if you don't have an elevated mindset, and if you don't have your calling clear, you're never going to actualize your potential. The other thing you got to think about is your potential has to be mission specific. This goes back to close quarter combat. If Navy SEALs are going to Afghanistan, they're not training for underwater demolition. They're training for the mission. If my calling is to be a chef, or to be a horse trainer, or to be a farmer, or to be a parent, whatever it is, make sure that you are fulfilling your potential, that you're actualizing your competencies in alignment with your purpose. And when you do that, when you have your calling, your character, and your competencies, those wired in, you move out of the flock and the herd, and you become a Tom Brady or a Taylor Swift or a Nico, or and that's what this is about. Where everyone's missing it, this is internal work. This is deep internal work. And everybody wants the new car and the new house and we want them to get a new house because that helps you in the market, right? But sure. I'll tell you what, Nico, I've been inside of insane mansions and met the loneliest, lost people you could ever imagine. And I've been in mansions where the person built the mansion from the inside out. And that's what I want you guys to think about. If you build your life from the inside out, it should be beautiful and abundant and magnificent and all those things. But if you don't, you end up with Elvis Presley and Marilyn Monroe, right? The most beautiful people on earth who hated life so much they had to pull the exit button.
Yeah.
So
Wow,
you
that's
know,
deep. That's
yeah,
deep. I think in that exercise of the love and hate, I think you had me burn the hate paper I wrote down, right?
100%.
Yeah, so you had me burn it. And I don't know, I just listened to this recently. I think it was Buffett. He calls it, I think, the inversion method, what you were describing. And I'm going to take it a little bit deeper of if you can identify the things in your instance that you hate. In Buffett's instance, it was if you can say your mission is to be a great real estate agent. So the inversion method relating to the hate method was what is everything I can do to not be a great real estate agent? Write all those down, right? And then you'd write them all down and say, okay, do the opposite of those, right? The inversion method. And it's a pretty simple exercise.
That's super funny. And there was an episode of Seinfeld. This is going back a little bit, so everyone's not going to get it. But
Yeah.
George Costanza, who is like the world's greatest loser, in this one episode, he does everything that's not George. And he ends up like dating the hottest girl in the world, and he gets a giant raise at work, and so he totally applied Wart's inversion method.
Yeah.
And the key though is and again, and I do want to get into AI with you guys, because back in the day, it was not a science, it was an art.
Right.
And we had a limited database, and we had limited processing power. And so it took us months and years to get to where we could really condense and articulate that. And we can now do that in weeks and months.
Cool. I want to jump into AI, but I just want to conclude before we do, because we'll probably
You're the
end
boss,
it with
man.
we'll probably end it with AI. But it was something I was just talking about at lunch with my producer of this unfulfilling, and it's something you and I have worked through. Um, it's I will feel fulfilled when I hit this, and it was a number of income for me, right? So it was like before in my mid 20s, it was if I hit 1 million, I will feel this, or I'll slow down a little bit, and then you hit that, and the flagpole moves, right? And just as you described it with these houses and wealth, which wealth can be defined in multiple different ways, what you start to notice is that if you don't have that purpose and that dedication, like you described, those goals that you set are unfulfilled, right? I mean, they talk about these top elite athletes, and some of them you've worked with. The time they are probably the most unfulfilled is typically an example is when they won the Super Bowl, because they spent their whole life trying to accomplish this one goal, and they lost themselves in the journey.
Yep.
Right. And my new mission and my intentions, you asked me my intentions for this, not only this podcast, but for this year, is to joy, right? And fulfillment. And how I'm doing that is enjoying the journey. I just, I was more transactional than I was relational. And I find more joy out of being relational. And does old Nico think it's going to hurt my numbers? Potentially, right? If I work less and care more, and I spend more time with my family or more with the um, relational clients and network I have and associates. But it doesn't matter, because it's a journey. It's not a race. If I'm on a race, yeah, you keep your head down, you pull full Goggins, right? Just grind. But it's a
Well, it
journey for
depends
me.
on whether you're doing he'll grind on 100 miler.
Yeah.
Let's see him do a 300-mile race.
Right. Yep.
Right?
Yeah, and that's the point. I have this intention that the race for me isn't to get to 1 million, then 5 million, then 10 million. It's in the journey of finding the most authentic self I can be, the most authentic company we can become. So we're operating in full joy and fulfillment, and it's been a fun journey, of course, with your guidance, and always looking to get better. But let's speaking of getting better, so let's talk about, because this transitioned us right into this AI that I know you're excited to talk about. We got about probably 15 minutes left, and
Perfect.
let's dive into how you want. So we're a little bit newer to AI. We've been using it the last couple of years. I've done a ton of YPO meetings and seminars on it. I've been trained by arguably the best on a very surface level. But tell us, in your world of, you know, mastering emotional intelligence and peak performance, how does AI relate to that?
So just to kind of make this segue, right? Because I'm in it for joy, just like you, right?
Yeah.
My purpose, right? Ignite the potential of every soul, crush self-sabotage, and activate joy. That's it. That's in that's it, right? And what I've learned a lot of times the hard way is it's an inside out job. So when you talk about these people who win the Super Bowl, or they're putting their belief, their joy in some future event, and it doesn't exist there. It's not in the hot girl. It's not in the beautiful house. It's not in the watch. It's not in any of those things. You know, I'm looking out a window and it's spring and there's these beautiful flowers just coming into bloom right now. They're going to come into bloom whether I see them or not. They're going to come into bloom because they can't not.
Yeah.
Right. That's joy is, and I, you know, I think it was Denzel Washington at a culmination speech. He said, "Put God first." He puts God first in everything. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, that peace and strength and flow, that's where my joy comes from.
Yeah.
From that place, now, regardless of what your faith or lack of faith is, you have to be in alignment. You have to be in integrity. Your what you love and what you do and who you are have to all line up.
Yeah.
And we got a whole bunch of people out there who are saying one thing and feeling one thing and doing another, all trying, and they're just in misery. They're in misery. You know,
Yeah.
it breaks my heart. I see a lot of young women who are spending way too much money on surgeries. And this isn't about whether it's good, bad, right, or wrong. I mean, if you are full of joy and peace and contentment and you want to do something to your appearance, knock yourself out. If you think doing something to your appearance is going to bring you joy, peace, and contentment, it's not.
Right.
Right. So this is all about inside out, which is why this is why what I mean core, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you get your character, your calling, and your competence lined up, and you go out in the world and you love and serve to the best of your ability, hey, we joked that at the beginning, you know, I'm 62 in a couple of days. This is my halftime. I'm going, I think with AI and some new tech, I could make $1.50. And I mean snowboarding at $1.50, not drooling in my soup. And if God takes me home tonight, I'm not going to be that guy laying in my last breath going, I did it wrong.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I think we were born to live. So the AI, what's happening? Sam Altman, if you don't know, he's the CEO of OpenAI, which is driving everything, kind of leading everything. He tweeted something on March 17th. He tweeted, 2024 is going to be the most interesting year in human history. And then every other year after that. That's not hyperbole. It's 100% true. So I hope every one of you guys listening has a helmet and you got a seatbelt, because this year, the next couple of years, education as we know it is dead. I was talking to a board member of a university I went to, and God bless them, they're dead. Every industry is not going to look like it looked. Real estate, law, medical, everything. And here's what's going to happen. So what is AI in its current form? I have an MBA from a top 50 university. To get my MBA, and I did it like 6 years ago, not that long ago, had to read 100 books. I can maybe recall 10% of what I learned. I have a genius level IQ. In one discipline, I can only recall 10% of what I learned. Einstein was not a master of French romantic poetry. He wasn't a medical doctor. He didn't understand ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. So what we have right now, GPT-4, has a master level of every known discipline to man. This is mind blowing. This is what kills me when I meet people who say they're doing AI. Not only does it have access, so it's, GGP4 passed the medical boards, it passed the legal boards, it passed economics. It speaks 160 languages in 16 dialects. I have a Spanish leader who wanted to convert some of our tools, our 9Q tools, into for some of his team. I'm all great. I went into ChatGPT, do this for me instantly. He's like, Poet, I speak California Spanish. This is written in, Spanish. I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. I'm like, hey, ChatGPT, how many dialects of Spanish do you speak? Oh, 16. It speaks Puerto Rican Spanish. It speaks Guatemalan Spanish. It speaks so it like, do you guys understand what we have here? And its recall, yeah, does it hallucinate? Well, it's got, I use it for my Bible study. The Bible's a really complicated book, and it's got all, I'll take a paragraph and I don't understand it. I won't give it any context. I'll say, explain this to me and give me context. And it'll say, oh, this is from this book. This is the Hebrew translation. This is what it means in Greek. Instantly. So what's happening is every one of us has access to a board of advisors that if you were to actually pay them would cost you $100 million an hour. That's what artificial intelligence is. And we're going in there and we're saying, help me write an email. Help me do a social media campaign. And here's the really fun thing, Nico, and this is what I spent last year doing. I have had to completely retrain my brain. Last year, my whole life, everything you and I did was come up with a goal, go get the knowledge, apply the knowledge and deploy it. And going and getting the knowledge could take 80% of the work. I now push a button. And so split testing, I can come up with a concept. I can have AI create a board of directors of every diversity, ethnicity, sex, and age, and I can split test an idea instantly, and I can get the perspectives of every person on this. Instead of spending $100,000 in 6 months doing A/B testing, I can do it instantly.
That's
so
wild.
what I did now, okay, big sidebar. Is the AI going to blow up the world or make it better? The best in the world have 90% tech optimism. And so of the 500 hours I spent last year, half of it was spent on learning how to use it, and half of it was spent understanding the trends, like being Wayne Gretzky skating the ball. Here's what I believe is going to happen real quick, and then we'll get into how to use it. UBI is going to happen for sure. Universal basic income. A week ago, they said the top 800 CEOs from around the world said 50% of all jobs will be obsolete in 2 years. 50% of all jobs will be obsolete. Now, what does that mean? They're not going to go away, right? When cars started appearing in America, horses were obsolete. Now, there were still a ton of horses, right? So the transition, the pain period might be 10 years. But here's what I want everyone to start thinking about. If you make a living because of what you know or because of what you can do with your body, you will be replaced. Sorry. Now, to Nico, what you said earlier about moving from transactional to relational, this is our sweet spot. AI is going to be able to do better at any cognitive job where you have to gain access to information and deploy that information. If I need to know how to do something, and I don't know if you watched AI's latest robot, but that should freak the hell out of you because it's having a conversation with this guy and it's giving him an apple and it's doing dishes and it's doing all these things in real time. So now that AI is starting to program these other robots, the guy who thought he was a plumber was safe. So what does this mean? UBI means everyone's going to get enough money to be fine. You're going to be able to have a house and a car and a mortgage and all that stuff. Where I live, we give a local tribe, an Indian tribe, $400,000 a year. Everybody gets it. If you're 1/16 this, you get this. The levels of alcoholism and drug addiction, because they have no purpose, is massive. What we need, our sweet spot is your character, your calling, and your competencies. So how do I use AI? Well, one thing I did is I've studied personally 100, 200 high, I've worked with 100 high achievers, probably studied another 500. Okay. So I had a pool of 600 high achievers that I could draw from. I had AI analyze probably 50,000, and we did it in a day. And then we analyzed these 50,000 and we came up with these mindset codes. And Nico, you just took the survey this morning. I can't wait to go over your mind map with you. But we were able to identify what are the drivers of all these people. But here's the best part. Now with AI, we go, oh, wow, I've got these 5 dysfunctional drivers. Hey, AI, I'm a real estate agent. Hey, AI, I'm a CEO. Hey, AI, I train horses. Give me daily exercises in alignment with my profession that are going to make me more effective and elevate my mindset. Right? Purpose discovery. We've developed a purpose discovery interview where you go through a process and it's like being interviewed on a TV show. You just answer just in plain language a whole bunch of questions about what you love, what do you do, what have you done, and AI will craft almost instantly. I'm going to call it a 70% nailed diamond purpose. Why 70%? It's going to need a lot of grinding and working on you and your heart and your soul, right? Now I do that. So then I go, okay, well, so this is what I'm born to do. Hey, and Nika, you've probably done this. For my purpose, I need to weigh, and this is real life, right? For my purpose, William Poett, I need to weigh 160 pounds, body fat 9%. I need to be able to bench press, double my body weight, and run a 5K in under 27 minutes. These are some of the specs, right? I don't have any dietary restrictions, love protein, and I want to have a nice glass of wine or 2 on the weekends and a good old fashioned every once in a while. So, and I'm going to work out 5 hours a week. Like I spec it out. Give me my training protocol. Oh, I like this. This is what I have. Nico, I get a customized when I was a trainer, I would have charged somebody 5-10 grand to do. Instantly, diet, shopping list, and the funny thing is it's still kind of wonky. Like you got to do some behind the scenes work to make it happen.
Yeah.
In 6 months, Siri's going to do it for you.
Wow.
Right? I mean, that's
yeah, guys, let that all soak in. Where I'm mind blown is, I thought I got smarter than the training a little bit, right? Where you're describing how you and I used to train, and this whole board of directors. I've been working the last year on, and I'm well connected, I believe, and I say that humbly. And I was like, okay, attorney here, financial guy here, CPA here, multi, million, if not billionaire here, and maybe an energy or tech space. And I'm trying to piece this all together, saying, man, I'm going to shortcut this game, right?
Nico, I literally have crafted for my company a board of advisors, and I'm like, okay, my marketing director, I want the best possible combination of experience and education. I'll send you the CV of my marketing director.
Yeah.
It will create it, and then it will act as. So
That's crazy.
and again, it's like, and people, if you don't elevate the AI, you get very generic responses from it.
Yeah.
When you create these customized bots and you build a board of advisors, you can have a brain smarter than any brain in any discipline on your team at any time. So practically, when I wake up in the morning, I've got 4 screens open. I've got ChatGPT, I've got Gemini, I've got Claude, and I've got Copilot. And we're not going to get into the minutia today. We can talk more personally. Every one of these AIs specializes in a certain thing. They're a little bit better in certain things. But what I'll do is I'll create something over here and I'll say, edit this for me or improve it for me. And after, so in 2 hours, whatever I generate is 10 times, 100 times better than what I could have done on my own, or actually what I could do with just one of these AI tools. So I guess what I want the listeners to take away from is, I get people like, I don't like AI. Okay, there is this 10-mile high tsunami coming right off the coast of California. Myself, all my clients were getting really good surfboards. And we're practicing surfing. No one is going, I'm not going to ride this wave. Like, it's, for good or bad, it's here. Lean in, use if you want. And then, Nico said, hey, I mean, with my birthday present, with the core ignition training, I have a handful of private clients I'm taking right now. I have some cohorts where you can bring in a company and a team. And then I've got an online program, which is like $300, and that's launching April 15th, tax day, where anybody can get on it and get these tools, because ultimately my vision is this to be free to everyone everywhere in the world. And knowledge is being democratized, and access is being democratized, and everything is going to change. And I'm just here to help us all figure out how to do it in a way that is in alignment with you, in alignment with God, and fun.
That's amazing, man. I had a ton of fun today. I think my last takeaway on the AI is, from my base learning of AI is, it's as good as what you feed it, right? So
Right.
the audience may be like, well, Poet, you just described all the stuff that AI can do for me. Why do I need coaches or mentors or people in my life to help me through that? Well, this is where you get that vision clear, because you have to feed it something, right? You can't
Yeah.
just, AI is not going to think what you're thinking or think what you need to think and then generate something for you. So, to my point, if you can get in the right mindset, make the right moves, get with the right people, you can then use resources like AI to better your life, better your business. It's a tool. Yeah, that's how you described it the other day.
It's a tool. So what do we do if anyone here decides you want to play with me? 6 steps. Step number 1, you ignite those higher cognitions: imagination, insight, intuition, creativity. Step number 2, we cultivate your purpose, cultivate your mindset. Step number 3, we grow. We build your training protocol. We get you aligned and activating the way you need to. Step number 4, emotional intelligence. You learn how to love. You learn how to live in that green zone. You learn how to live in flow every day. Step number 5, you serve. You take your gifts out to the world. We create a daily checklist like a pilot, so that you know that your calendar and your to-do list are serving your purpose. And that means serving you, your family, what you're born to do. And then step number 6 is we evolve. We make sure that you are constantly iterating and staying on the cutting edge of your profession, your life, and your industry. And Nico, you can tell I love what I'm doing. And my life isn't perfect. I've had some gnarly medical stuff. I'm on my way to a stress test right now, but I've never had more energy. I've never been happier, and I've never been more excited. And as a 62-year-old almost guy, I want everyone to have that much energy and that much joy or more. So I love you. It's so much fun being on this with you. I'm so proud of you. If you don't know Nico, he walks the talk better than anyone I met. Biggest heart I've ever met. And if you ever do a business deal with Nico, he will take care of you
That means a
100%.
lot.
There's no one that you will not leave in a better place than they met you in.
Yeah.
And I love your integrity. So, man.
The feeling's mutual, brother. Well, I appreciate you for coming on. For the audience, they can like, subscribe. We're going to tag you on the page. So to get hold of William Poett, which I highly suggest, his seats are limited. I was one of the last seats, when I onboarded in 2018-19, and I don't have any regrets. It changed my life, and I know it can change yours, and it's the whole reason for this podcast. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll definitely have you back on when we watch this wave kind of tail in, and we hope that people start grabbing their surfboards and the right one. And I highly encourage them to reach out to you to make sure they know what surfboard they're grabbing. So thanks for coming on, brother.
And if I can, let's give a link to the mindset survey.
Yeah,
Anybody
love that.
watches it,
Let's
take that
actually,
survey.
I'll actually in the comments, kind of give a review for the audience of how you explained my survey that I filled out and what came out of it. So for those, I'll put it in the link. Producer Matt will drop it in. It's free. It's easy. It took me about 15 to 30 minutes. Knock it out. Thanks for tuning in.